Hey, John, we've got something really important to talk about today. Not that we don't talk about important things all the time, but this is about asset protection. And we have a very special offer that you're going to present today. So go ahead and get on with it.
Yes, we do. So at our wealth summits, from time to time, we have Attorney Lee Phillips come in. Attorney Lee Phillips is a counselor to the United States Supreme Court, and his passion is in asset protection. So he'll be sharing with you here over the next 110 minutes. We have a replay of his whole presentation at the last Wealth Summit to share with you here today. He'll be sharing you about the tools that you can use to protect your assets and to grow your wealth. It's very important in today's economy. And you know, there are 15 million lawsuits filed every year in the United States. It comes out to one every 2 seconds.
Ouch.
And so we need to be able to protect the wealth that we're building against the people who would like to take it away from us.
Absolutely. And of course, we know life insurance is an important part to that, but there's more to that beyond life insurance.
Because you can lose wealth by just not being able to work in our economy. What if something happened to your health? Would everything that you've worked for disappear? We don't want that to happen.
So this is your opportunity to listen to Lee Phillips and hear what he has to say, and you're going to have an opportunity to take action.
What we're going to talk about for the next hour and a half or so are the tools that a lawyer has available to do the asset protection, the tax planning, the business structuring, the estate planning. I mean, it all melts together after a minute. Before we get started, I need to take a little inventory with you for 2 seconds. How many of you have a bank account? Come on, you raise your hand. Didn't have any money in it, okay? How many of you own your own home? Most of you in here are homeowners? Good, good. Who owns a little business? I want to see what little business people are. Okay, everybody, I understand that. You guys listen up, we're talking to you. How many of you would like to get ahead financially a whole lot faster? Let me ask that question. Oh, all the hands go up? I understand that, I understand that. I need to ask one more question, though. How many of you have honestly thought about the possibility that your house, your bank account, your car, your little business, that these things could be taken away from you? Let me see your hands if that's something you've thought about. In today's society, that's something you need to think about. And as a specialized attorney, I'm going to show you this morning, step by step, how to protect yourselves, how to protect your property, and how to get ahead financially a whole lot faster. But if I'm going to help you, you've got to do 4 things for yourselves today. First of all, you've got to protect yourselves against the disasters, the tragedies that threaten your family's financial security. I'm going to give you the tools. You can do it, no problem, all right? Secondly, the major reason most of you aren't getting ahead financially quite as fast as you want to is you're probably paying too much in income taxes. Well, how many of you felt like you paid too much in income tax on the last go-around? No, look. You need to learn how the law, the tools I give you. We can give you an extra 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a year. No problem. Third thing you each need to do is you need to plan right now. So a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of property isn't lost. At the death of a family member. Now that death, it might be yours, mom's, dad's, husband, wife. It doesn't matter who dies. Unless the family's done their homework in advance, a lot of time, money, property is going to be lost. You don't want to do that. You want to go right out and around that, don't you? You know, Cheryl talked about it. I'm going to teach you how to go right out and around that. You can go right out and around it, no problem. The fourth thing you each need to do is you need to learn how to use the law to make money. I'm going to show you how to reposition yourselves in the law. So you go out and you make more money you never thought possible. It's very subtle, what we're going to talk about. But everybody who's successful today understands that they need to do something offensively to use the law not only to protect themselves, but to make money too. We're going to get started. We're going to do a little what I call some CYA work. Now, tell me, what does CYA stand for? Cover your what? Your assets. Yes, that's right. Look. Before you change jobs, you start your little business, you make your investment in your real estate, whatever it is, you'd better make sure that your tail's covered. Because look, if you're out here chasing your dreams under this windmill and your tail isn't covered, your tail's going to get shot off. But we don't whip out our 45s and blow each other away today. We whip out our lawyers and we sue each other to death. So you're going to have to learn to defend yourselves against that kind of an attack. Now, this kind of armor, it won't do you any good. Lawyers, they fight their battles with paper. You're going to have to learn to defend yourselves with paper. But y'all remember the old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword? It's true. It's absolutely true. You write it down. The way I show you how to write it down, tools I give you, you protect yourselves. You protect your property. No problem. But you do have to write it down. Tell me, what have you got to do? I want to hear it. You write it down or forget it. All bets are off. You're going to have to change the way you think a little bit. 20, 30 years ago, you had an ice accident out on your hometown freeway. Your chance of being sued, 30, 40%. Today, you have an ice accident out on your hometown freeway. What's your chances of being sued? 100's optimistic, even for the local lawyers, all right? Even for the Vegas lawyers. It is about 80, 85. We're changing. We're changing the way we deal with each other. The sheer fact of the matter is, we're graduating so many lawyers today that in order to eat, these guys got to sue in walks. So I watched y'all walk around during the break. Well, that means you're a target today. You get sued today. You can lose everything you, what's the word? Own. Critical word. You watch for that word as we go along. Oh. You all know you might get sued for something that you do today, tomorrow, or the next day. But what you may not understand is things you did 20 years ago. They didn't have any legal significance back then. They now have a huge legal significance. Architects, engineers, doctors, accountants, these kind of guys, they've worried about something called deferred liability for a long time. The sad part is the general public, well, you guys don't even know what you have to worry about, let alone what you have to do to protect yourselves. Let me identify with you first then. What are the disasters, the tragedies that threaten your family's financial security? This would be the audience participation part, okay, guys? I mean, the car accident, the lawsuit's the one we're alluding to, isn't it? The lawsuit comes in form, size, shapes, colors. Is it possible today that you could do absolutely nothing wrong and lose everything you've worked your whole life for because of something that your kid or your business partner, your tenant, or somebody else does? Is that possible today, yes or no? Yeah, the Evans, our neighbors, they're up in the bedroom middle of the night a few years back, heard somebody downstairs. Mr. Evans, he gets his gun, he goes downstairs. Sure enough, there's this burglar down there. This guy's broken a window, and as he's coming through the broken window, he's cut his arm real bad, and he's standing there bleeding. Mr. Evans holds the gun on him. Mrs. Evans goes, calls sheriff. Sheriff comes, gets him, takes him to the hospital, gets him patched up, and about 3 weeks later, what happens? The Evans got sued by the burglar. Oh, no, you don't understand. They were supposed to call the ambulance, not the sheriff. This burglar is a real professional. He's cut a nerve in his arm. That makes his arm numb, and that hurts his profession, doesn't it? No, seriously, though. The Evans, they weren't fabulously wealthy. They didn't understand that they were supposed to have a legal foundation to rest all their property on. Didn't understand, supposed to have a legal shield out in front of their property, move their property out and around behind this legal shield so that when they get sued, there isn't anything to take away. And if there's nothing to take away, how often are you going to get sued, huh? I mean, they lost a lot of time. They lost $50,000 just defending the lawsuit. The legal system is the most powerful system we have in our nation today. You get sued. You're going to spend every dime you've got defending the lawsuit. Either that or you lose. That's the way the system's set up. Biggest mistake you're going to make today. In fact, biggest mistake you're going to make for your financial careers is to sit here this morning and say, Phillips, he's not talking to me. I don't have enough to worry about yet. If that's your attitude, I'll guarantee you'll never be wealthy. Look, you've basically all come here to find another way to make money, right? Make more money, invest, whatever. The irony of it is, and by the way, slow and easy, the way Tom's teaching is easy. And it's a lot better than fast, because fast you lose it. And I deal with the people who lose it, and they lose it every time. But at any rate, the irony of it is, if you learn how to use the legal tools I have here for you, you learn how to use the law, you make more money at whatever it is you do. You don't have to change what you're doing. All you have to do is reposition yourselves in the law. You think about it, the rich people you know. They use the tax laws, they use the contract laws, they use the other laws to their benefit, and they go out and make money at whatever it is they do. You don't have to change what you're doing. All you have to do is reposition yourselves. You can't build a house from the roof down. What do you got to have first? Foundation. You can't build a financial fortune from the roof down either. What have you got to have first? The foundation. Question, why don't you have this legal foundation, this structure already? Tell me. You don't know about it. I'll buy that. That's not going to be any excuse here in a minute, though. Y'all understand that? Why else? You get into the law office. Are lawyers expensive these days? Yes or no? Oh, yeah, big time. In fact, when the Evans got sued by their burglar, they finally figured out their burglar was cheaper than their lawyer. So they paid the burglar guy and he went away. You pay the lawyer guy, he keeps coming back to you. Have you ever noticed that? Now look, the client is dying here, and he has these two lawyers come stand on either side of the bed. These two lawyers, they're standing on either side of the bed. After a minute, they look down at the client who's dying. And they say, hey, man, how come we're here? And the client looks up at the two lawyers standing there, and he says, well, you know, I didn't live a very good life. I couldn't live like Christ. So I figured the least I could do is die like Christ in between two thieves. You get it in a minute. At any rate, so the lawsuit. I love lawyer jokes, by the way. The lawsuit, that's something that takes away your family's financial security. What other financial disasters do you face? Injury is either a health issue or a legal issue. We're going to take the health here in a minute, okay? And by the way, when I say asset protection, your immediate reaction is lawsuit, right? No. 50% of all bankruptcies in the United States are a result of medical. Somebody in the family gets sick. You know, right now, my out-of-pocket's running over $100,000 a year. So when I say asset protection, the question is, are you going to lose your practice? Are you going to lose your investment real estate? Are you going to lose your bank accounts because somebody in the family gets sick? And the answer is, for most of you, yeah. They're going to take it away from you. We can protect it, but the answer is, for most people, yes, we're going to lose it. So, at any rate, illness I'm going to take in a minute, the lawsuit. What other ones have we got? How many of you are married? Let me see your hands. That's a financial disaster, isn't it? No. It's the divorce. You've been through it, Mom, Dad. Hey, whoever's getting divorced in here this week, you listen up, okay? When we get to the part about the family limited partnerships, you take good notes because you can control the financial outcome of the divorce very effectively with that legal tool. Now, you'd better look over and see if your spouse is taking good notes. Your spouse is taking good notes, you better be taking really good notes. Actually, the divorce is just another form of the lawsuit. That's all that one is. So I got lawsuits and divorces. What other financial disasters? What? Taxes. The IRS. Is the IRS a disaster? Oh, yeah, big time. I mean, I'm going to teach you how to use the tools, make an extra 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a year. That's later. What I'm talking about right now is where they reach up, they grab you by the leg, they pull you all the way down under, and they drown you. Well, young man starts a business. Business goes well for a couple of years. Then he receives a notice from the IRS that says, oh, by the way, 2 years over here before you started your business, you owed taxes. He's going, wait a minute. I hadn't even thought of my business. And they're saying he owes taxes. He fights off the IRS for a while, then he misses one of the 10-day notices that the IRS is sending out. Goes down to the bank and writes out a check, and the banker says, hey, buddy, your check's no good. IRS closed your account 3 days ago. They'd come in, taken all the money they needed to out of the business accounts. But just to make sure they covered their tails, they took both the owner's personal checking, savings accounts, and seized both their homes. I worked on that case for a year. Poor people spent about $8,000 fighting the IRS. Finally, I found somebody in the IRS that says, gee, I guess we made a mistake. Could the IRS make a mistake? In this room, how many of you know somebody the IRS has made a mistake on? Let me see your hands. I mean, look around. That's incredible. I have 14 hours of home study CD instructions here for you. And I identify 6, 8, 10 ways in here that the IRS reaches up, grabs you, pulls you down under, and drowns you. I mean, I've seen families just be wiped out by the IRS before. Well, let me give you another one or two of them. How many of you do you have your name appear on business records? Big business, little business, your business. I don't care if you're officer, director, owner. I don't care if the accountant screws up. Doesn't matter. If that business doesn't pay every dime of its tax, and all you have to do is sign a checking account, that'll link you to the business. If that business doesn't pay every dime of its tax, the IRS can basically walk in any day of the week they want off the street, take your house, your bank account, your car, everything you own in order to satisfy the business taxes. How many of you knew they could do that? Let me see your hands. $64,000 question then. What have you done to move your property out and around some sort of legal shield so that when the IRS is barreling down the road at you, you're standing off over here behind this legal shield, you just watch the IRS go right on by. Just, oh. Well, how many of you would like to protect yourselves from the IRS like that? Let me see your hands. You can do it. Actually, you can't do it. You have to use these legal tools and move the property out and around behind the shield. But basically, we can do it no problem. In fact, it's not only the IRS. You're going to deal with a lot of government agencies before you're through. EPA and OSHA, they're suing little businesses right and left these days. Statistically, you're going to put a family member in the rest home in the next 10 years. Family member goes in the rest home, 6, 8, 10 grand a month rest home bill. Now, use the tools I have here for you. Move your property out and around behind the shield now. Then when the family member goes in the rest home, the government will immediately start to pay that rest home bill. That just gave you an extra 6, 8, 10 grand a month in cash flow at that point. Can you do this? Yes or no? Well, there again, you can't do it. You have to use the legal tools and move the property out and around behind the shield. But yes, it can be done. But that's just one of dozens and dozens of ways that I teach you how to use the law to make more money. Taxes, that was a good one. I've got taxes, lawsuits, divorce. Give me another one or two. Disasters you face, financial. Job loss I can't help you with. We could make it so maybe if you lost your job, you didn't necessarily have to lose a rental unit or investment. Fraud, yeah, that's your problem. You guys are kind of dead in the back of the room back there. Is death a disaster, or is that just your natural state back there, huh? Family loses money two ways when somebody dies. Probate's what you pay the lawyer. Taxes are what you pay the government. They have nothing to do with each other. We're going to go right out and around both of them. Death, divorce, taxes, lawsuits, injury. That's you guys want to do the health thing, huh? Can a family lose a financial fortune because somebody gets sick? Oh, yeah, big time. I'm here for a couple of reasons today. One of the reasons is a number of years ago, one of the big-time real estate investor developer guys in the United States comes in, sits across desks in my law office and says, Lee, I'd like to protect myself so that if I get sued, I don't lose everything I own. How many of you would like to protect yourself so that if you got sued, you don't lose everything? Let me see your hands. That's what we're doing. That's what these legal tools do for you. In fact, I used these exact same legal tools, and I built a foundation for this man, and then I went back and put some bells and whistles on it. This is a long time ago. The man died about 10 years ago, actually. You'd know his name. And anyway, I charged him a little over $20,000. Back then, that was a good deal. Today, that would be a good deal in the big law firms downtown for the basic foundation structure. Anyway, guy pays me my $20,000, and he goes away happy. 6 or 7 weeks later, the guy shows up sitting across the desk in my law office again. And I'm going, man, what does he want? He says, Lee, I've been thinking about this. This foundation, this legal structure that you talk about. People don't have this foundation. They don't have the legal structure. Even if they have their LLC or their trust or their corporation or whatever it is, they don't know how to use it. It doesn't protect them when they get sued. They don't make any more money with it. It's expensive. It's confusing. You pay the tens of thousands of dollars. You go down, you get the big ream and pay. No, Lee, could you teach people how to put these legal tools in place and then teach them how to use them to make money and protect assets? And I said, yeah, I could do that. So I started to speak. I started to write. But I'm here for another reason. Something else drives me. You see, I understand you. I understand each one of you. I understand. I understand when you have a little business. I understand when it goes well. In fact, I understand when it fails. I understand when the IRS seizes your assets, somebody's sick, somebody dies. There isn't anything here today that we're going to go through that I personally haven't been through. And because I've been through it, I can lead you out and around the problem a whole lot better than a lawyer who's never been there. You see, I'm not supposed to be an asset protection tax type lawyer. I'm supposed to be a patent attorney. I have a bachelor's degree in geology and physics. I have a master's degree in analytical nuclear chemistry. And I have a doctorate in law. I never dreamed I'd be a counselor to the United States Supreme Court, which I am. And you can't say that you've met another lawyer that can say that. I graduated from law school, went out and worked for the big-time patent firm for about 4 weeks. And at the end of 4 weeks, 10 years of education was gone. Well, I live in a nice area of the city, live up on a little hill. My block and the block next to us live 38 MDs. So they call this little hill Pill Hill, right? One Sunday I figure I'm having chest pain. So my wife, she gets on the phone, she calls up Mary. Now Mary and Leland, they're 5 houses down the hill. So Christy gets a hold of Mary and says, hey Mary, Lee's having chest pains. Could Leland look at him? Leland's the local cardiologist. And Mary says, sure, come on down. So I went down to Leland's house that night, and he looked at me there in the home. And on the way out down the big entry hall, I remember he made a real strange statement. He says, you know, Lee, anytime somebody's seriously ill, they can go in the hospital, they can recover their health, they can live a normal life. They're extremely blessed. And I thought, yeah, Leland, I mean, you're the cardiologist. You deal with people who die all the time. I understand. And then he said, oh, by the way, Lee, I'd like you to check yourself in the hospital tomorrow. I'm going to have a bed ready for you. I want to run a test. So the next day, I'm strapped onto the x-ray machine. My wife, she's up in the control room behind the glass panel with all the radiologists. 3 of them live on our block, our street, good friends. And I noticed they take her out. Then one of my good friends, radiologist Gary, he comes and he stands alongside the x-ray table and he says, well, Lee, you're having chest pains. And I thought, well, good, then it's not all in my head, huh? He says, you've got a tumor. It's a little over 8 inches in diameter. It's around your left kidney. It's crowded up against your heart. Your heart's having a hard time. I said, well, Gary, can you take it out? My friend Gary stood there and he said, no, Lee, would never operate on you. We've done a CT scan on your entire body now. Lee, you have very advanced cancer. Your cancer now involves all the organs in your body. I said, Gary, what does that mean? My friend Gary said, Lee, I expect you're going to live another 2 to 3 weeks. And that ruins your day. I spent the next 5 months in an isolation intensive care unit at a university hospital. I didn't work for 3 years after that. You want to talk about illness? Would you like to ask me what an illness does to a small or no financial fortune? I mean, I know exactly how it works. We're not talking I was just sick. We're talking this is a major battle. Average cancer patient, 2-3 treating doctors. I had 53 treating doctors. I had over 200 additional doctors that we actually got billed by. I mean, we're flying drugs from the East Coast to the West Coast in the middle of the night on chartered airplanes, the whole 9 yards, full life support. I don't even remember most of it. In fact, I'm not a very fat character today, am I? As I stand today, I weigh 85 pounds more than when I left the hospital. Twice the man I used to be. I don't even remember most of it. I do remember losing my hair, though. I used to have more, okay? Any of you remember losing your hair? I mean, with chemotherapy, okay? I remember I woke up in the middle of the night. I was choking and spitting this hair, and it was all over the pillow. And I got the bed tray, and I swung across the bed, and there was a little cosmetic drawer in it. I pulled this little drawer out, and then I just literally took all my hair off, and I put it in the little drawer. And for the next few months, people would come into the hospital, and they'd say, oh, Lee, you've lost your hair. And I'd say, no, I haven't. It's right here in the drawer. Look, I took an inventory with you. I wasn't asking stupid questions. You all said you've got your bank account, you've got your rental property, you've got your house, you've got your little business, your practice. Now, you make a mistake in operating your little business, they're going to take it away from you. You make a mistake in buying a piece of real estate, they're going to take the piece of real estate away from you. And if they don't get satisfaction here with the piece of real estate, can they come get your house too? Yes or no? Yeah. I mean, one mistake is all you're entitled to, and then it goes wham, 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 all the way around the circle and wipes you out. Y'all remember rich kid in your high school class? There was a rich kid, every one of your high school classes. This kid went on to high school, showed up 3 or 4 years later operating dad's big business. You're going, man, how can he do that? I'm smarter than he is. As a matter of fact, you probably are smarter than he is. The catch is he's born into a family that already has this legal structure, this foundation. Kid makes a mistake, whomp, falls back down onto the structure. It doesn't go wham, 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 all the way around the circle, wipe him out. Oh, it hurts. Hurts right here in this corner. This corner is legally protected from this corner. It's shielded from this corner. Everything isn't all held together like this. This is how you all own your property. Look, if you're going to understand how to protect yourselves, how to protect your property, there are 4 or 5 points to the law that I need to go through. Should we do it? Okay. First one I want to talk about is something called a general partnership. I heard a general partnership is a financial disaster over here. General partnership. You don't want to be in a general partnership because in a general partnership, each one of the partners is jointly and severably liable. That means you're legally responsible for what the other guy is doing. Never place yourselves in a position where you're legally responsible for what the other guy is doing. Now, the problem is, if I were to ask 1 or 2 of you to raise your hand and say, yeah, I'm in a partnership. No, 60% of you in this room are in a general partnership. I know that. It's the only legal relationship that you can be in with somebody and not have to have a written piece of paper. Well, I got a partnership agreement here for you. It's the last one in the accumulation, preservation, and wealth set. Let me show you how this system works. This is the accumulation, preservation, and wealth set. This is the business planning section. This is the personal planning section. These are all of the legal documents that I use in my law office. These are the ones that Tom and John and everybody used in their business and in their personal stuff. Personal, business. By the way, did you catch the name, the accumulation and preservation of wealth? How many of you would like to accumulate and preserve wealth? That's exactly what these legal tools do for you. Now, we have the 14 hours of audio CD instructions that go along with them. So I teach you how to set them up, and then I teach you how to use them. The lawyers will set them up for you, but they'll never teach you how to use them. You got to use them. So I go in and I teach you how to use each one of the documents. General partnerships in here, okay? And by the way, you can go downtown here in Vegas in the big glass buildings or your hometown, I don't care where it is. They're going to charge you somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000, and they're going to give you just one of these pieces of paper. And it's going to look just like that one, if they did a good job. How do I know it's going to look like that one? They got it from me. No, they didn't get it from me. Lawyers get together and they create what are called uniform acts. Basically, the last big one was 2006, the Uniform LLC Act. It was just updated in 2013. I have to update the materials all the time. But these uniform acts, and we have about 160 of them now. Uniform Corporation Acts, Uniform LLC Acts, Uniform Trust Acts, Uniform Bankruptcy. I mean, everything is uniform, state, state, state. Now, there are little differences. I understand that. On the audio CDs, I have to talk about these little differences. If you're here in Nevada, you're living in a community property state. If you're in Texas, you got a big homestead you got to worry about. So on the audio CDs, I go through and I give you the little nuances on each one of the documents and the structures so that you know how to operate them even within the state that you're in. But most of the stuff is pretty level state, state, state. Anyway, partnership agreements. If you're going to be in a partnership, business planning section, you take the piece of paper out and you write down what you're doing, okay? The problem is you don't need the written piece of paper to be in the part. I said 60% of you were in one. No lawyers ever brought you in, set you down across the desk and said, okay, here's definition for a general partnership. Let's see if you're in one. Let me give you the definition. You think, what am I describing? Two or more individuals engaging in a common activity. What did I just describe? What? No, it's not marriage. There's a third part to it, okay? Two or more individuals engage in common activity with the intent to make money. How many of you got married to make money? Never mind, that's a bad question. It's similar, isn't it? Who are you doing your little deal with? That's a partnership because you intend to make money. You're rehabbing a house, you put up the money, the kid's doing the rehab, your son. He's on the way to Home Depot to get the stuff. He hits a kid in the crosswalk. Whose fault is it? That's your fault. You're liable. So you stay out of the partnerships. Huge hole in this legal structure, this foundation. Let's go on. Let's start to build something now. Next one I want to talk about is something called a limited partnership. Limited partnership, very different than a general partnership. Because in the limited partnership, the limited partners are only liable to lose up to the amount that they put into the deal. Do I have anybody in here in a limited partnership already? We got a number of you. They're excellent real estate investment tools, actually. There's your general partnership, just for fun. Here's the question. Have you been down to the recorder's office and seen on file what we call a certificate of limited partnership interest? It's just a little 1-2 page typewritten piece of paper. When you use the accumulation preservation wealth set, you're going to know what one of those babies looks like. You're in a limited partnership. This piece of paper's got to be on file at the recorder's office. It could be at the county, it could be some of them are at the city, and I tell you in the audio CDs how to go look for it. This piece of paper's got to be on file, 6 or 7 other things that I teach about in the audio CDs. They've all got to be done for you in order to qualify you as a limited partner. Okay, here we go. Boom, the deal blows up. We know you put your $10,000 in. Your name's not on the list down there as a limited partner. What you got to be? A general partner. And at that point, you don't just lose your $10,000. You lose $250,000 because that's your share of this deal, not as a limited partner, but as a general partner. Now, here's the problem. Can you always trust the lawyer and the promoter and the CPA guy and the real estate guy and all these other guys to do everything they're supposed to do for you? Yes or no? Not likely. My wife, she has 2 aunts in town. I call them Ding and Dong. They really are. They run one of these little restaurant things in the middle of the mall where they hand you the hot dog as you walk by. They call me up 3 or 4 weeks before tax season. They say, hey, Lee, our accountant says we can't do this. Now, I know the law. If you know the law, can you make money? Yes or no? Yeah, I made him an extra 10 grand that year. What do you do with your accountant at that point? Well, point of the matter is, you may not have to know how to fill out your own tax returns, but you darn well better know whether that guy's leading you down the primrose path or not. And the easiest profession in the world to lead somebody down the primrose path is the legal profession. We go to school for an extra 3 years to learn how to speak and write so you can't understand us. Actually, it's not that funny. I've spent years writing all these forms for you, these legal documents, in plain English. There aren't any here, to, therefore, here with undersigns in here. When it talks about you, it calls you by your name. You got to know what the piece of paper says. There's no good to you. Look, let me show you what we can do with a limited partnership. In the accumulation preservation wealth set, I have all of the documentation for a special type of limited partnership called a family limited partnership. What we're going to do is we're going to set up the structure, and then we're going to put stocks and bonds and business equipment and all sorts of stuff into it. Because whatever we put into this partnership is largely going to be protected from your accident out on the street. How many of you have a piece of real estate again? Let me see your hands. Okay, let's say you got a nice single-family rental. On the audio CDs, I'm going to teach you step by step how to get the single family into the limited partnership. Right now, you rent to the tenant. Tenant pays you the money. You take the money, you put it in your back pocket. Now, on April 15, you pay tax on all the rent you collect last year, right? with whatever's left over after you pay the tax. Then you can help out your family members. You give your kids dance lessons, piano lessons, send them down to Anaheim, Disneyland, bring them to Vegas, or mom and dad, they're getting a little older, slip them a little money on the side, help them out. How many of you help family members, kids, parents, financially? That's cool. That's neat. But you're all doing it right now with what's called an after-tax dollar. Before you pay the piano teacher the dollar, you've already paid tax on it. If you could do all of this with a dollar that wasn't taxed as much, or a dollar that wasn't taxed at all, would you get ahead financially a little bit faster? Yes or no? Let's do it. Don't have the tenant pay the money to you anymore. Have the tenant pay the money up to the family limited partnership. Now, Section 704E of the IRS code says that money comes up, comes around down through the partnership to the child, the parent, whoever we want to support, and it's taxed right there, not taxed to you anymore. This is called shifting income. I have 13 techniques in the accumulation preservation of wealth set to show you how to shift income. Say it, shifting income. Didn't hurt anybody's teeth, did it? Okay, you're going to shift income. We've got 3 kids and a grandparent. Four kids. We got 4 kids. We're going to move $4,000 of this rent up and around the circle, $4,000 to each one of the kids. Kid gets $4,000 this year in income tax, or income. What do they have to pay in income tax? A little bit, actually. But basically nothing, okay? So we've moved 4 times 4, what, $16,000 out of your wallet where you would have been paying full bore tax on it over into the family's pocket, basically tax-free. What did that just give you extra to spend this year? How much? No, not $16,000. What's your tax rate? 30%? So what, $5,000? You just made an extra $5,000 this year. Did you work any harder to get that $5,000? Yes or no? Did you make any funny investments? Take any big risks? Yes or no? No. We just moved your money differently through the legal system. That's the only thing we did right there. Let's look at another aspect of it. Right now, you own your rental unit. You own it. You own it. Yours, husband's wife, name, joint, tenants. I don't know how you own it, but you own it, all right? Wham, you're in the accident out on the freeway. They sue you. They take away everything you own. You've been a little smart at that. Use the accumulation preservation wealth set. Move the unit up over to the family limited partnership. Now, tell me, who owns it? Family limited partnership owns it. You don't own it. By law, you control it. You can buy it, sell it, rent it, burn it down, do whatever you want with it, but technically don't own it, all right? Wham, you're in the accident on the freeway. Did they get your unit this time, yes or no? No, we just put a legal shield, a barrier, all the way out and around that building, protected it from the accident out on the street. Let's look at another aspect of it. Dad dies. They're going to tax everything he owns. We move it over to the family limited partnership. Dad dies. Did he own a rental unit? Yes or no? You want to get up and give the speech? You're doing better. Wake me up when it's over, okay? We got the unit out of Dad's estate, so we get the estate tax protection, the lawsuit protection, the extra $5,000, all out of a simple tool called a family limited partnership. How many of you can see where you might be able to use a family limited partnership as part of your foundation, your structure? Let me see your hands. Cool. I mean, this is critical, guys. You didn't leave your house, leave all the windows open, doors unlocked. You put security lights around your house. You do whatever you can to protect your property from some sort of a thief. And yet you haven't done anything to protect your property from some sort of a legal or financial attack. You just hope you don't get sued. You just hope you don't lose your identity. You got a better chance today of losing money due to the legal or the financial attack than you do the common thief. I mean, using the accumulation preservation wealth set, it's like putting a deadbolt on your front door, protecting your property from the legal financial attack. Let's go on. The next one I want to talk about is something called the corporations, the LLCs. Everybody gets their corporation, their LLC for this liability shield. Can't sue me. I got my corporation, my LLC. And actually, the corporations' LLCs make excellent liability shields. How many of you in here already have corporation LLC? We got 500 million of you. Did anybody fill out their own paperwork, send it into the state, get the pretty yellow seal on it and all that garbage? Nobody? One or two of you. The rest of you paid the lawyer. I like that. Gives you goosebumps. Can you do your own LLCs or corporations? Can you do any of this legal work you want for yourself? Yes or no? Yeah. I mean, I've got a full corporate kit here for you. We got all the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, the organization meeting minutes, waivers and minutes, all the LLC member manager stuff. I mean, we got all of this in here. On the audio CDs, I tell you what to do. But you've got your corporation, your LLC. Most of you all paid the lawyer. You pay the lawyer, Hometown USA Today, you're paying the guy between $1,500 and $2,500. You pay him his $2,000. You pay him his $2,000. He kisses you on both cheeks. It's the other cheeks, wise guy. And he goes out of there going, wow, I got out of there only paying this guy $2,000, and I show up, I didn't catch anything. You didn't hang around at that point and have your guy explain to you, your lawyer explain to you. If you're going to have your corporation, your LLC, there are at least 16 things that you have to do every year under the law in order to maintain your corporation, your LLC. You didn't hang around and have him explain that to you because he's going to charge you an extra $1,000. As a result, you were out of there. 95% of the corporations, the LLCs in the United States, are trash. They're not worth a piece of paper they're written on. You get sued. They're always going to sue you and the corporation LLC. First thing you do is you get into court and you argue, hey, judge, can't sue me. Got to sue the corporation over there. See it? And the judge says, yeah, right, provided. Now, the judge will literally have this list of 16 things. He starts down the list. File articles of incorporation. Yep. Bylaws, I think so. I don't know if I did that one. No. 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 And at that point, the judge looks at you and says, hey, look, buddy, you didn't do what the law requires you to do to have a corporation. I can't use the law to protect you. And he does what's called pierce the corporate veil. Wham, there you are, right back square one, naked as a jaybird. Everybody's a general partner again. You lose your house, your dog, your cat, your kids, your cars, everything you. That was a little lame. Everything that you own. That's the way 95% of them end up. I go in the audio CDs, sit you down, I teach you how to do the 16 things. They're not hard. You got to take minutes in your annual meetings. Y'all taking notes right now, aren't you? First time I ever acted as corporate secretary, man, I'd been to college for 10 years. I know how to take notes. I had 18 typewritten pages worth of notes. I sent these notes off to an old friend lawyer of mine. By the way, what we're talking about today is what I did not learn in law school. You're not going to learn it in law school either. It's not in the form books. What we're talking about is what I've learned by experience. So I send these notes off to my old friend lawyer. The old guy takes me over in the corner and he says, Phillips. And I got a tongue lashing. He said, son, your notes, they're no good. So I go in the audio CDs and I sit you down. I teach you how to take minutes, personnel area, finance area, planning area. Look, the art of a lawyer is to be able to write something so that it doesn't say anything. So I go in and teach you how to do the 16 things. They're not hard. Somebody's got to sit you down, patiently teach you how to do it, and you can't pay the lawyer to do it for you. In fact, if you've already got your corporation, your LLC, you haven't been doing all this stuff, which I know that's the case. You don't have to trash your corporation, LLC, start over. In the audio CDs, I sit you down, I teach you how to go back and clean it up. You do not backdate documents. That's called fraud, okay? How many of you would either like to set up or clean up corporation LLC? Let me see your hands. Way up in the air. Come on, I want to see them high. Second question. How many of you are going to commit to me to do it right? Better see the same hands back up. They're going to lynch your little necks. You understand? It's not hard. Somebody's got to sit you down and teach you how to do it. Tax. Your little business is your most important tax shelter. How many of you know what above the line, below the line accounting is? Anybody? Above the line, below the line accounting. My CPA back here, huh? This is a concept that you have to understand. Your company allows you to work above the line. Anything above the line affects your adjusted gross income, your taxable income. It's a big deal, guys, and it's getting bigger. We've got, 3 more months until Obamacare taxes kick in? January 1, guys. Largest tax increase in history. Oh, you didn't know that. You haven't seen it yet, have you? Largest tax increase in history. January 1, 2017. Now, why would they make it January 1 when Obamacare was passed? I don't understand. I just don't understand. But it's coming. And the taxes, everything is based on this AGI. You've got to know how to play the game above the line and below the line. And if you don't even know what we're talking about, you need to sit down and study. It's not hard. It's just concepts that you need to understand. You need to plan your taxes every day of the year. You can't do it on December 15th. It doesn't work. But at any rate, your company allows you to play the game above the line. That's why it's a big deal. I mean, you go down and you get your corporate papers from the lawyer. He's written these pieces of paper for this liability shield. And you're going, well, yeah, I want him to do that. Well, yeah, but I've written your piece of paper here not only for the liability shield, but for the tax laws. It allows you to do things that you can't do in other corporate documents. So it's a big deal. Anyway, in fact, in the accumulation preservation well set, I have 70 tax laws. I go through, I teach you how to use the laws, 70 laws rather. I teach you how to use the laws for taxes. I teach you how to use the laws for asset protection. There are facets to each one of the laws. I actually have a second set of materials here for you. We only talk about 4 or 5 laws here, but these are 4 or 5 of the greatest gifts the IRS has ever given us. This is called benefit plans, retirement savings plans. How many of you have ever heard of Section 401k? Duh. How about 125? HSA, HRA. These are retirement plans and benefit plans. Let me introduce a couple of them to you for 2 seconds, because these are neat. 125 of the IRS code allows us to buy all of our current benefits, medical, life, dental, all of this pre-tax. Not tax deductible, pre-tax. There's a big difference there. I'll show you in a minute. Medical reimbursements, dependent care. Now, the average employee isn't going to spend a dime different than they used to. We're just going to move the money differently through the legal system. Average employee is going to save out of pure federal income tax, Social Security, FICA state, about $3,000 a year. Didn't spend a dime different than we used to. Just move money differently through the legal system. Now, not only does the employee save money, the company makes money. The big companies make millions, tens of millions of dollars extra every year. This is a little company. Press the wrong button. 1984, I draft the plan for them. I was one of the first lawyers to start to draft these plans. I've been doing it for a long time, guys. And by the way, this set was just updated, and we have added Roth IRA stuff, we've added SEPs, we've added all kinds of neat things. But at any rate, the little company the first year, it was a short year, the employees spent about $50,000 buying the eyeglasses, paying the insurance, all of that sort of stuff. Now, not only did each employee make money, the company saved all the taxes. And you'll note that that's 14%. It's about 16% now. That little company took home out of pure income tax, Social Security, FICA savings, an extra $6,944 that year. The reason I use this example instead of the big tens of millions of dollars example, that doubled that little company's profit that year. If that's your company, is that significant? Yes or no? Yeah, the IRS is your major impediment to financial success, either in your own personal life or in your business life. You believe that one? The only way you can control the IRS is no one understand their own laws. This is Law 125. The two new laws are HSA, Health Savings Account. I don't use it for two reasons. One, you're extremely limited as to the amount of money you can put in it. And two, the insurance company or an IRS-approved trustee has to be in charge of the money. And I don't like the insurance company being in charge of my money. I'm going to teach you how to use an HRA plan. First thing you got to do is have a company. You can't do this. Your company has to do it. If you could make $5,000 this year, how many of you'd set up a little company for me? Let me see your hands. Okay, watch. Company signs the piece of paper out of the materials here. We now have an HRA plan according to the IRS. Company goes down, sets up a checking account. I've got my regular checking account in the bank. I've got my HRA checking account. The company moves money from general checking over to HRA checking. How much money? There is no limit. The catch is the company gets 100% tax deduction for every dime that it puts into the HRA checking account. Last year, I put $25,000 into the account. You might know that's $25,000 that would have filtered down through my little company, ended up in my back pocket. I would have paid tax on it. So I've moved $25,000 out of my income stream. Is that above the line or below the line? That's above the line, guys. That means it directly reduced my adjusted gross income. So I now have $25,000 in the account. What can I do with it? I reimburse myself for health-related expenses. What's a health-related expense? Everything. Trip to Vegas. No, you guys are nuts. You've been having too many martinis down at the bar. The doctor deductibles, the eyeglasses, the dental work, the gym if it's required by prescription, all of it, basically. Obamacare took away the over-the-counters. We used to deduct the aspirin and the toilet paper and everything. What's you laughing? Toilet paper is very healthy. You try not using it for a while. But Obama doesn't understand the paperwork, so we now lost that one. At any rate, yes, you can pay premiums with it. Yes, premiums come out of that as well. Good point. So at any rate, let's say that I spend $15,000 on my 25. So I've got 25,000, 15. So I've got 10,000 left in the account. This is not a use it or lose it deal. And by the way you get reimbursed is you go down, you get the receipt from the pharmacy or the doctor's office, and monthly, weekly, annually, I don't care, you cut yourself a check out of this account. But that money comes to you tax-free. I've now made all of my medical tax-free. Oh, you guys are deducting the medical, aren't you? Is that above the line or below the line? That's below the line, guys. And, in fact, you can't deduct anything on your medical until you reach 10% of adjusted gross income. So it's above the line and very limited. But in this case, we've now made everything tax-free. That's a big deal. That's big. Additionally, I've got $10,000 left in the account. This is not a use it or lose it deal. $10,000 stays in the account. I can invest it anywhere I want. It grows without a tax. So for the next 10 years, I'm putting my $25,000 away every year, and you might not do 25. You might be doing 10. You might do 7. You might do 40. I don't care. But that money grows without a tax. So I retire 10 years from now, I've got $200,000 in the account. What can I do with it? Not whatever I want. I can reimburse myself for all health-related. Is long-term care health-related? Yes. Yes, long-term care is now health-related. So, or this is a benefit plan. It is not a retirement plan. Use the R word. I wash your mouth out with soap. You understand that? Benefit plan. The law says the company. Who's the company? The company can terminate the plan at any time. So 10 years after I retire, the company decides to terminate the plan. All the money in the plan comes to the then participating employees. After I've retired, how many employees is there going to be in my little companies? Comes to the then participating employees as income. You have to pay income tax on it. But wait, you got to pay income tax on your 401k money or your standard IRA money. What have I just described? I've just described a benefit plan. But gee, it looks a lot like something between a Roth IRA and a regular IRA and an account that I can put as much money into and tax deduct. It grows without a tax if I invest it. I can get it back anytime I want tax-free for health stuff. Do you understand what I've just told you? These are cool. If you died as the owner, it is still the company's. What is going to happen to your company when you die? 95% of all companies die when the owner dies. You like that, die? Huh? Why? Because the company isn't owned correctly. It gets caught, it's yours. You own it. It gets caught in probate. We'll talk about probate in a minute. And you can't do anything with the company while it's in probate. It dies. I mean, you can't make any major decisions in your company for a year and a half, 2 years. It's dead. You can't sell it. You can't do anything. It's just dead. So we have to preserve that. But this is an HRA account. It's neat. You just saved at least $5,000 a year in taxes, or made an extra $5,000, however you want to look at it. And the neat thing about it is, this is an ERISA plan. Whatever is in that checking account is 100% asset protected. There isn't a judge in the United States that can take it away from you. That's pretty cool, guys. Now that you know a little about HRAing, how many of you would like to HRA a little? Let me see your hands. These are kind of cool. Now, how many of you are going to retire fat and sassy on Social Security? Hey, don't laugh at me, man. 95% of the people up in the casino today are going to do exactly that. How many of you will commit to me you're not going to be one of the 95? Let me see your hands. Lots of things you can do. One of the things is you look at a 401k plan. Now, your broker teaches you how to lose money in your 401k. I understand that. I'm going to teach you how to make money. First thing you got to do is have a written piece of paper to create a 401k plan. Where are you going to get your written piece of paper? The attorney. I like that one. No, attorneys are too expensive. I've charged literally anywhere from $45,000 to $5,000 to write that piece of paper for a company. By the way, what's the difference between the $45,000 job and the $5,000 job? $40,000. Piece of paper is identical. It's what the law requires. Where are you going to get your piece of paper? Yeah, from the book. I understand that. I like that. I like that. Yes. Let me ask the question different. Where do most people get it? No, not the lawyer. It's not on the internet. They get it from the insurance company or the broker guy, the financial guy. They're only going to charge you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to set up this whole plan. The problem, your little company. The problem is they get to write the piece of paper. And the funny thing is, if they write the piece of paper, where are you making your investment? In them. No. I've written your piece of paper right here. you can invest anywhere you want. You can invest your own stocks, bonds, your real estate deals. I don't care, guys. The neat thing about it is not controlled by a IRS-approved trustee like your IRA is. It's controlled by the 401k trust. You do not have to be IRS-approved trustee to be IRS-approved to be the trustee. Who's going to be the trustee? Now you're in control. You put your 14, 16 grand, whatever it is this week away. You get a full tax deduction for it. It grows without a tax. You invest it basically anywhere you want. It's 100% asset protected. They can't get to OJ's retirement, can they? 100% asset protected. I mean, this is cool, guys. Are you going to get ahead a little bit faster if you use these tools? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? No. You're going to get ahead a lot faster. These are neat. All the forms, and then I actually have an additional 5 hours of audio CDs that teach you how to use, set up, and use all of these forms, in addition to the 14 hours that go with the accumulation, preservation, wealth set. And by the way, all of the audio CDs and everything are all indexed. There's about 20 pages of indexing. You do not have to listen to all 60 hours, okay? But at any rate, let's go on. We took a little detour. We talked about a couple of neat plans that the IRS lets us use to get rich, to make more money. All right. Next one I want to talk about is called trusts. Lots of different types of trusts: revocable, irrevocable, charitable, offshore, remainder, land trusts. I mean, there's a dozen different types of trusts. Don't let that bother you. In fact, in the accumulation, preservation, wealth set, I have 5 different types of trusts for you. Let me introduce a couple of them to you for just a second. First one I want to talk about is something called the Children's Trust. This is the one the Kennedys and Rockefellers and Hearst and all them rich boys use. Could you use one too, yes or no? Yeah, I got all the pieces of paper. I teach you step by step how to set up a children's trust. And by the way, you do not need children's. It's usually the children's that are the beneficiaries, but a lawyer will call it a 2503 trust. At any rate. So, you set up the children's trust, step by step. Okay. Back on this side. Who has a little business? What's your business? A retail outlet. You've got shelves, you've got cash registers, that sort of stuff? Okay. This is what we call your business. I'm a lawyer. I got a desk, file cabinet, computer, and a Xerox machine, one of them new fandangled fax things. Every one of you has stuff, equipment, that you have to have in order to make your money. We call it equipment. I'm going to teach you step by step how to get the equipment into the trust. Then the trust is going to rent the equipment. Who are they going to rent it to? You. You got to have your equipment or you ain't making your money, right? You're going to have to pay the rent. That's a necessary business expense. You get a tax deduction for paying the rent. Except in this case, it doesn't go to ACE rents. It goes up through the Children's Trust, down to the children or the parents or whoever we want to support, and it's taxed right there. It's not taxed to you anymore. What are we doing? What's this called? Sure, shifting income. This is the second of the 13 techniques. This one's called the lease back. You're going to lease it back. You got to have a written lease. So I've got equipment leases and real estate leases and everything for you. But there's your extra $5,000 again to spend because we use the legal system. Let's see if you're catching on. Can you get sued in your business these days? Yes or no? Yeah, sue you. We're always going to sue you and the business. We're going to get the equipment. You've been a little smarter than that. Use the accumulation, preservation, wealth set. Move your equipment up into the trust. Rent it back. You get sued. Business gets sued. Can they get the equipment? Yes or no? No. In fact, look, let's carry it one step further. Business ain't going too well these days. Your business goes belly up. When you go bankrupt, they take everything you own. All right? Move the equipment. Rent it back. You go bankrupt. Business goes bankrupt. Can they get the equipment? Yes or no? No, can't get the equipment. So next week, the equipment is still sitting there. What can you do? You back in business. What did you just do? You snickered at me, but you just protected the way you make your money. How many of you like to protect the way you make your money? Let me see your hands. It's critical that you give yourself a chance to make a mistake in business and start over again. We don't forgive each other the way mom and dad did 30, 40 years ago. We sue each other to death. For Pete's sakes, take advantage of the opportunity I am giving you to learn how to use the law to protect yourselves and make the money. We put a shield around the way you do your business. Anybody ever known a family lost the business because dad died, dad paid all the taxes and all that garbage? It's in dad's estate. We remove the equipment up into the trust. Dad dies. Yeah, he owned the business, but did he own the equipment? He didn't own the equipment. The equipment's a major value in most businesses. So we've removed from the estate a major part of the business wealth. We get the estate tax protection, the lawsuit protection, extra $5,000, all out of a simple tool called a 2503. How many of you could see where you could use a 2503 as part of your structure? Let me see your hands. Look, two sets of laws in the United States. One set that rich people uses and one set that everybody else uses. Both perfectly legal. If you're going to be rich, which set of laws do you have to use? The rich set of laws. The rich set of laws. Now, the trust you're all going to find first is something called a living revocable trust. It's called an AB trust, CB trust, family trust, loving trust. You do it for the people you love, and actually that's true. You do it for the people you love. What we're doing with this trust is basically avoiding probate. Let me overview probate with you for 2 seconds and then come down and talk about the trust. Is that okay? Okay, let's do it. Probate. Let's say your dad has an $800,000 estate. Dad's not rich, nice house, bank account, couple of CDs down at the bank, car. Dad dies. You got to go to court. You got to prove this is your dad's real will. You got to go to court. You got to prove that your dad didn't owe anybody money. This whole process is called probate. And on average in the United States, you're looking at 3% of gross. So on an $800,000 estate, you're going to pay the lawyer $24,000, $25,000. It's going to take you on the average of 1.5 years to go through this process. Oh, you want to get into your dad's CD before the year and a half's up? Fine, go to court, get me a special court order. Every time you go to court, who's faithfully standing by your side? This is the way the guy's making his $25,000, his $100,000, $50,000, whatever it is. This is called probate. How many of you would like to avoid probate? Let me see your hands. And the rest of you are idiots. Probate's easy to avoid. All you have to do is know how to die. There are 5 ways that you can die. And the problem is you don't practice. The good news is I don't have time to practice with you today. Let's just assume one of the 5 is you have a living revocable trust. 1976. My father-in-law pays the equivalent today's dollars of about $8,500 for a living revocable trust. A little pricey, but I'm seeing that price in the big firms pretty routinely now. Anyway, he got a trust. He happened to get a good trust. When I looked at his trust in the early 80s, though, it wouldn't have done him any good. He trashed $8,500. And wait a minute. I said he got a good trust, didn't I? This is an article from Fortune magazine. How many of you have ever heard of Fortune magazine? Fortune runs an article on these trusts about once a year. Let me read from the last 3 paragraphs over there of the article. Can you read that for me? Another problem is finding an attorney with experience in living trusts. Apps is a lawyer that writes a lot about trusts. Apps says that only 1% of American lawyers know how to draw them properly. That's not a good statistic. Goes on. If you're on top of your assets. Now, you may not think that you're fabulously wealthy, but in today's society, you'd better be on top of your assets. Someone can take them away from you. If you're on top of your assets and like to do things yourself, I'm curious. How many of you will commit to use the accumulation preservation of wealth set and not blindly walk in off the street, trust the lawyer? Well, you blindly walk in off the street and say, "Hi, here I am, Mr. Lawyer. I need a trust. Set me up." What's he going to do? Set you up. That's what you just asked him to do. How many of you, at a minimum, will commit to me that you'll learn about this stuff and not blindly trust the lawyers? Let me see your hands. You can't. That's the point. Like do things yourselves, and you like the idea of saving money, avoiding probate, then why not use living trusts? Now, the problem is, when I looked at my father-in-law's trust in the early 80s, he'd spent his $8,500. Wait a minute, I told you got a good trust. What's the problem? The problem is the lawyer never taught him how to use the trust. And I sat there and I argued. He says, I said, lawyer didn't teach you how to use the trust. He says, no, they taught me how to use the trust. I know how to use trust. No, they never teach you how to use the trust. It's a conflict of interest. If they don't teach you how to use the trust, then they get the $8,500 for setting up the trust, and when you die, they get all of the probate. It's a double dip, conflict of interest. Only like 6, 8, 10% of the people ever learn how to use the trust. 94% of the people who get a trust go through probate just like everybody else. It's only 6, 8, 10% that ever learn how to use it. There are lots of things you have to do. In the audio CDs, I go through and I teach you how to use your trust, even if you've already got one. I spent a couple hours doing it, but you got to know how to use the trust. For example, trust has to be funded. That means it has to own stocks, bonds, house, cars, boats. Lady walks into me, sits at my desk, April 15th. That tell you anything? Husband's died that year. She and her husband been living in the rest home for years. There's no house, there's no bank accounts, there's no cars. All this lady has is $100,000 in treasury bonds. She and her husband spent their whole life saving these bonds. Now she's sitting there with her daughter, and they've already been to the local lawyer. And the local lawyer says, oh, lady, you don't want to go through probate with these bonds. That's ugly. You want to live in irrevocable trust. So they gave her a very simple single living revocable trust. By the way, in the accumulation preservation wealth set, I've got a full set of documentation for single people. Just as important that a single does this as a married. And I've got actually a couple of choices that marrieds can make with the trusts. But at any rate, they gave her a very simple single living revocable trust. Then this banker and lawyer, they were brilliant. They said, okay, lady, we know how to, trust has to own the bonds. We know how to get the trust to own the bonds. You sell the bonds and you buy them back in the name of the trust. What did they do? What did they do? 50 years of interest clocks. There's no tax until you sell the bonds. She paid $23,000 in income taxes. And there wasn't a thing I could do about it. The idiot banker and lawyer, they didn't know. All you do is take the form out of the set here, request to reissue United States savings bonds / notes, name a trustee, you send it into the Federal Reserve Bank, they change the name on the bond. No tax. The first question you ask whenever you transfer any asset anywhere is, what's the tax? What's the tax? You don't understand what taxes do to you. They kill you. Tom is teaching you how to use the sweetheart of the IRS code. What is it? Life insurance. If you understand life insurance, you can make it operate exactly like a Roth IRA. Except there are no limits. There's no time, 59 and a half, 9, 70 and a half, all that crap, none of that. These are neat things that Tom is teaching you. Neat things. But you've got to know how to use the trust. You've got to know how to use these legal tools. Right now, you get a business deal. You get a great business deal. You get a great real estate deal. You're going, wow, I do this when I retire, it's over with. In the back of your mind, you're going, yeah, man, but whoa, this doesn't work out. I could lose everything I own. As a matter of fact, with everything all stacked up like dominoes, wham, 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 all the way around the circle, you lose everything you own. But if you've taken some of it off over here, put it behind this legal shield, then everything's not all at risk all at once anymore. How many of you'd like to make it so it's not all at risk all at once? Let me see your hands. It's going to do something for you you don't understand. It's going to give you self-confidence because you can afford to do the deal and not lose everything. And the funny thing is, people will sense that self-confidence in you and they will start to bring you ideas and opportunities. That's when you're in a position to go out and make money faster than you ever thought possible. It's very subtle, but I've seen it happen over and over and over. Well, You believe something, you begin to act the part. Ultimately, does it come to pass? Yes or no? You understand what I'm telling you? You can do anything you want when you're properly protected. How many of you would like to work for yourselves? Let me see your hands. Let me ask it this way. How many of you would like to work for yourselves, do your real estate deals, whatever it is, and make it so if it doesn't quite work out, you don't lose your house? Let me show you how to do this. No other lawyer is going to show you how to do this. This is a picture. It's a diagram of the living revocable trust I have for you in the accumulation preservation of wealth set. It has a his trust and a her trust. My house, it's right there in my wife's trust. You can't sue me and get a house. I don't happen to own a house. I happen to live in a house that my wife's trust owns, that my wife controls, and I've only got one problem with this. It's my wife. Well, it's not what you think it is. When I was sick, the legal system took us to the cleaners. My wife became infuriated. She became so infuriated, she overreacted. Do you want to know what she did? She is now a lawyer also. United States Supreme Court counsel. That's an overreaction, guys. You don't have to go that far, okay? But she says, I will never blindly trust them again. And you can't blindly trust them either. That's the point. Let's see if you're catching on, though. If the wife is going to be the OBGYN or do the real estate deals or start the little business, where's the house going to be? In her trust or his trust? Can you see how we're controlling risk? Now, you guys are not too worried about estate taxes, at least not for the moment. How much can you die with this year not paying estate tax? Federal. $5.45 million. That eliminated estate tax for most of us that walk around with both feet on the ground. We can actually get 11, almost 11, because we can set up two trusts. Lawyers don't count too high, so they call the first trust A. What's the second trust? B. It's called an A-B split. If we set up the trust, we divide the assets at the first death up here, then A and B, then we can get 5.45 at his death, 5.45 at her death. We get almost 11 million. I don't know what's going to happen. You can go in and you can read Hillary's webpage. She is going to lower that to, I think it's 2.5. Okay, I can live with that. But this is what she's going to do. Right now, Christy's going to die. We know that. And what we're doing is we're moving all of the assets into her trust. The IRS, the federal government, the courts say I cannot create a trust and protect my assets from my creditors unless you're willing to die. If you're willing to die, we'll cut you some slack. So we will move $5.45 million into this trust. When Christy dies, that goes into Trust B, which is called the Shelter Trust. That is no longer mine. It is outside of my creditor's reach. It is outside of my estate. It has been taxed at Christy's death. But we only funded it with how much? $5.45 million. So what was the tax that was actually paid? Zero. The technicality is there is a tax on everything when you die. They give you a credit, which is just enough tax credit to pay the tax on the $5.45 million. Technically, it is taxed. So you die, your kids get the piece of property the week after you die, they sell it. What's the basis? The value on the day that you died. They pay no income tax. No capital gains, no nothing. It got a step up in basis. Here's the disaster. It's on Hillary's webpage. You can go read it. She is going to eliminate the step up in basis and make it what's called a deemed disposition tax. On the day that your dad dies, or my wife dies, those assets do not get a step up in basis. I can pass 2.5 and not have to pay any federal estate tax. But nothing will get a step up in basis, and it will be deemed to have been sold on the day that Christy dies. I then own capital gains on all of the assets. They will be paid with my 2017 tax return, if this goes into effect. This is a disaster, guys. Everybody nod their head. Do you understand what happened? It's not good. Well, no, the maximum I can pass to my children, my wife's children, is 5.45 twice. 10.9, I guess, would be the maximum I could pass without a federal estate tax. Now, you guys are from all over the place, aren't you? You see your state up there? Cool. I mean, look, you live in New Jersey, you can pass $675,000. After that, New Jersey takes 16%. Not only that, New Jersey has an inheritance tax of 16%. That means we get 16% out of the estate in the estate tax. The inheritance tax is what the inherited guy pays. So they're taking 32%. If you live in New Jersey and you get your dad's estate who lives in Nevada, no estate tax, right? Then you're still going to pay 16% on what your dad gave you. It might behave you to understand which state you're living in. Anyway, let's go on. What I want to do now is I want to start and build a foundation. Then we'll come back and put some bells and whistles on it. Is that okay? Let's do it. Every one of you needs a will. Can you do your own will? Yeah, I got a full will kit here for you. If you've already got a will, your will is going to have to be rewritten, though, because your will and your living revocable trust literally have to talk back and forth to each other. They have to have language in them that refers back and forth. But you put those two together, we can avoid estate taxes. Estate taxes are what are called the voluntary tax. Do the rich lose all their money when somebody dies? Yes or no? Why should you lose a dime? They avoid probate. Great management tool. Whatever you write down in this piece of paper goes. You don't need a lawyer to write that for you. All you have to do is be able to write it down so the next guy can understand it. Lady walks into me, she wants to leave $1 million to her cat. And I gulped real loud and I slid down under the table and I went, meow, meow, meow. You want to leave $1 million to your cat, that's fine. I don't care. You're one of my students. That means you're using the accumulation preservation wealth set. You get me on the phone, I'll give you the language for the $1 million cat. No charge, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to make it so when you die, the cat gets the $1 million in a trust. Then when the cat dies, somebody else gets the $1 million. The only problem is your cat's not going to live too long after you die. It's going to be, here, kitty, 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 meow! But that's okay. We can handle this, okay? And the neat part about it is the trust is private. Nobody ever knows you left your $1 million to your cat. This is actually the tool rich people use for privacy. I'm curious. How many of you are a lot more concerned about your privacy than you were today than you were 5, 10 years ago? It's becoming a major deal. It's been 7 or 8 years ago, I had 2 of my family members have their identity taken. And I'm not talking about the $8,000 they got off my credit card in Canada a few years back. That's called credit card fraud. I'm talking about people declaring bankruptcy using your Social Security number. Oh, that's interesting. I'm talking about people buying real estate on your credit. Identity theft, fastest growing crime in the United States. FTC says 15 million Americans are going to lose their identity this year. FTC says on average, you're going to lose $3,000 out of your wallet. That's not what the merchant's right. That's your money. FTC says on average, you're going to lose $3,000 and it's going to take you 250 hours, business 8 to 5 hours, to clean up the mess. That's 6 weeks worth of your business time. How much money can you make in 6 weeks, huh? This is called identity theft. How many of you'd like to avoid identity theft? Let me see your hands. Christy and I have actually prepared a set for you. Christy spent a number of years as a member of the Attorney General's Task Force for Identity Theft. We've prepared a set for you called Winning the Identity Theft War. Has a 100-page workbook, walks you through how to opt out, how to do the credit bureau stuff, how to put the fraud alert accounts on, how to do the police reports. Cops could care less about this. Less than 1% of these are ever prosecuted. Unless you walk in, hand it to them on a silver platter, they ain't going to do anything. We've got a full audio CD, 90 minutes, where I go in, teach you how to avoid the issues. And then I've got a computer disk with all the forms, the checklists, the letters, and everything, because when your identity is gone, time is of the essence. It's a big deal, guys. Problem is, your identity's already gone. $100, any one of you. We're in Vegas, I can bet. You give me your name, and I'll either take your birthday or your address, one of those two pieces. I'll be back in an hour. I'm going to have your Social Security number. I'm going to have your mother's maiden name. I'm going to have a fair chunk of your banking information. Can we do this, yes or no? Yeah. Your identity's already gone. How many of you would like to create a new identity? No, it's not what you think it is. Not what you think it is. Look, is an LLC an identity? Is a trust an identity? Here's your new identities. This is how to protect your new identity. When I go to the doctor, the guy's already got my Social Security number, but he ain't going to get the tax ID number for my LLC. Now that you understand, how many of you would like to create a new identity and learn how to protect it? Let me see your hands. This is just the way you got to start thinking, guys. The identity theft is a big issue. Oh, durable power. I haven't talked to you. Very powerful legal document. Cheryl was talking about that. It's an easy piece of paper. You sign one, mom signs one, dad signs one, everybody signs one. It sits over there in the filing cabinet, and you forget about it. But what this piece of paper says is under certain conditions, wham, that person, whoever they've been named in the piece of paper, that person now has the power, the authority, stand in, take over, take charge, do whatever they have to on behalf of a family member. What would that just save your family? When a family member has an accident, gets sick, goes down. Saved you time, money, and what else? You don't understand unless you've been there, guys. Time, money, and what else? I'll take stress. Somebody said hell the other day. I like that one. No, you don't understand unless you... Look, lawyers don't make a lot of guarantees, do they? I'll make an unconditional guarantee. You use the accumulation preservation wealth set. You do what I teach you how to do, I'll guarantee you it's worth every effort you make, every dime that you spend, just to avoid the stress or the emotional aspect. I don't care about the money. It's worth it for that reason, if no other reason alone. Oh, living will. Haven't talked about it. This is the directive to the medical profession. What do you do with me when I'm critically ill? Plug me in, unplug me, let me die? Are there only old people in rest homes? No, not likely. You go look. These disasters, the death, the divorce, the taxes, the lawsuit, the accident, the illness, they're going to come to every one of you. The question is, what have you done to prepare for them now? On at least 2 occasions in the middle of the night, I'm in intensive care and I'm dying of cancer. For months, it isn't an issue of if I die. It's only an issue of when I die. On at least 2 occasions, they called Christy to the hospital in the middle of the night. They don't bring her to my room. They take her to the administrator's office. And they sit her down and they say, okay, this is the situation. Do we give up and let him die, or do we keep going? Christy was alone when she made those decisions. We never talked about this. We're only 27 years old. We have 3 children. Christy made the decisions. By the way, I think she made the right decisions. Since the Karen Quinlan case, Supreme Court of the United States says you got to have the written piece of paper. So I got the pieces of paper for you. On the audio CDs, I teach you what you can do, what you can't do. You go home, you discuss it with your family, and you get the piece of paper. It's got to be in writing. This is your basic foundation, your basic structure right there. You don't have this basic foundation, this structure in place already. You didn't understand it. That's no excuse. You now understand it. And I understand it is expensive. These are national averages. $1,000 for the will, $3,000 living trust. You're going to spend $200 a year on LifeLock or whatever it is. Durable power of attorney. Bottom line is you're going to spend about $5,000. You're going to spend that. Your mom and dad, they're going to spend it. Brother and wife, they're going to spend it. It goes all the way around the circle. I'm a copyright attorney, by the way. I know how to copyright things. Accumulation, preservation, wealth set is copyrighted. But when you use it, I give you a specific license to use it up and down within the family. Because I understand this is something you do for yourself. This is something the whole family has to do. How many of you know somebody else in the family needs to do a little of this work? Let me see your hands. It's critical. Get the accumulation, preservation, wealth set. Do it for yourself, and then do it for each one of the family members. And the interesting thing is, his mom and dad's trust looks about like her mom and dad's trust, looks about like your trust. Does a lawyer create a new piece of paper for everybody that walks in the door? No, it's what the law requires. So I give you license, I give you permission to use it up and down within the family. This is your basic foundation, your basic structure right there. Let's now go in and let's start to put some bells and whistles on it. By the way, here at Tom's event, this set, personal planning, business planning, 14 hours of audio CDs to teach you how to set up each one of these documents and then how to use it. Here at the event, this set is $19.99. That's less than a couple of hours of my billable time in any one of those documents. But let's, now that we've got the foundation, go back and put some bells and whistles. The limited liability company is your most flexible legal tool. I haven't gone into it. I haven't had time. I can do a whole day on limited liability companies. They're neat tools. They give you twice the asset protection of a corporation. How many of you have ever heard that? A couple of you. They give you twice the asset protection of a corporation. There are a few reasons you'd use a corporation, but not many. Corporations. By the way, I don't care if you use a C or an S. Doesn't matter to me. In fact, on the audio CDs, I'm very careful to give you the advantages and disadvantages of everything and let you make the decision. Isn't it just as important that you know the disadvantages? Maybe more important. So I go in, I give you the disadvantages, and let you make the decisions. The problem is you walk in off the street, say, "Hi, here I am, Mr. Lawyer, I need to incorporate." He ain't going to talk you out of it because he doesn't get paid until you incorporate. You might not want to incorporate. On CD 7 here, I go in and I teach you how to work with lawyers. You ought to be able to work with any lawyer in your hometown, I don't care where you are, your hometown half-hour minimum for free, if you know the system. I go in and I teach you how to evaluate the attorney, whether or not he knows what he's doing. I give you certain questions on the audio CD that you're going to ask the lawyer. If at the end of the half hour they aren't giving you the right answers, where are you? Out the door. Haven't wasted a dime yet, have we? I teach you how to go in and bargain with lawyers. Are lawyers' fees set? No. You ought to be able to save thousands, tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime if you understand how to use the legal system and how to work with the lawyer. In fact, I go in on CD 7, I teach you how to tell if the lawyer's lying to you. How do you know if the lawyer's lying to you? He's talking. Who's that? All right, wise guy. If you're so good then, do you know what a good dead lawyer does? A good dead lawyer lies still. Told you I like lawyer jokes. Corporations, CNS, partnership agreements, family limited partnership. That's one where we shifted the rent on the rental unit up and around. We got you an extra $5,000. We protected the building from your accident out on the street. When Dad died, we got everything out of the estate. Children's trust. We got another $5,000. What did we protect with the Children's Trust? The equipment, sure. The way you make your money. We got everything out of the estate. I forgot to talk to you about insurance, life insurance. How many of you would like to protect your life insurance from the estate taxes, the income taxes, the lawsuits, everything? Let me see your hands. This is the form you're going to use, the documentation. It's in the accumulation preservation wealth set. You basically sign it, notarize it, and that's it. You are going to have to change a couple of words on your insurance form. Tom can help you on that. Now, if you're using it as a retirement plan, you probably won't use the trust. So there are advantages and disadvantages to everything. Lease agreements. Anybody in here doing real estate investing? Oh, we got more of you than I thought. My lease agreement in here, by the way, is what I call my kitchen sink lease. It's got everything, including the kitchen sink. This is a reference set. Anytime you want to write a lease or do any of this stuff, fine. Go to the shelf, take it off shelf, open it up. There's your lease. Now, what you do is you listen to the audio CDs, and I go through the lease for you, and you take out the parts you don't like. You got your lease left because it's called the kitchen sink lease. It's got everything in it. I'll charge you $1,000. You come to my office to write this lease for you. In fact, I'll charge you $1,000 every time you come to the office to write the lease for you. But you're welcome to use this one over and over and over again. Oh, independent contractor. I've been hustling. Never hire a guy as an employee if you can get him as an independent. The problem is you think you're hiring all these guys as independents. It's been 5 or 6 years ago. A lady just invested in the accumulation preservation wealth set. One of my students. She gets me on the phone. I remember this one. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. This lady is dead panicked. You can hear it in her voice. What's happened is the sheriff showed up on the door that morning. Sign here. $3 million lawsuit. What's happened is a year earlier, she's hired the guys to come in and trim the trees. One of the guys fell out of the tree. He's paralyzed. She's already been to the local lawyer. Local lawyer says, no problem, lady, if you have a written independent contractor's agreement. No agreement, presumption of law, the guy's your employee, you're liable. So I've got 3 or 4 different forms of the independent contractors. You read through, you pick out the one that best fits your situation. Might not be perfect. And you have the guy sign it. Now at least I have a written piece of paper. He's in the accident, his problem. He pays his own tax, his problem. This is Asset Protection 101 for any one of you that's doing a small business or real estate investing or whatever. Single estate documents, just important that a single does this as a married. Transfer forms. These are the forms that let you get your stocks, bonds, cars, boats, house, everything into the trust or the LLC or the corporation. And what's the first question you ask? What's the tax? What's the tax? So we got to do it without the tax. Bottom line is, use any of the rest of the materials in the accumulation, preservation, wealth set. You're looking at easy, $16,000 in legal work. Actually, it's 16 plus the original. You have over $21,000 worth of legal materials in the accumulation, preservation, wealth set. All my forms, 14 hours of audio CDs. These are the tools rich people use. You ever notice something about the rich? The rich just get richer. There's a reason for that. You understand you're never going to get rich at your job. You're not going to get rich investing either. The only way you can ever become truly wealthy is to use these legal tools and then leverage what you do in order to create wealth. You can give her your average lottery winner guy up here in the casino $1 million. In 1 year, he's going to be broke. He doesn't have these legal tools. He doesn't know the rules to the game. If you don't know the rules of the game, have the legal tools, you can't play the game. You'd be broke just like everybody else. Even if you get the money, you'll be broke. And by the way, there's a little secret. If you know the rules to the game and you know how to use the tools, it's a lot easier to get the money in the first place. Any rate, second set of materials, benefit plan, retirement savings plan. You're going to use the HRA, the 401k. That's like having the government hand you an extra $5,000 this year. How many of you would like to have the government hand you an extra $5,000 this year? How about next year? How about next? You understand once these go into place, they operate over and over and over again. All the forms, additional 5 hours of audio CDs. Here at the event, this set, $6.99. How many of you have learned something about using the law to make money, protect assets? Learn all you want. It ain't going to do you any good unless you do what? Use it. When you commit to use either one of the sets, I've got a couple commitments to each of you. First of all, I have a letter for each of you. Well, for some of you anyway. I understand you're going to be talking to your buddy down the street, your CPA guy, your real estate guy. You have a question on this legal stuff. You call your local lawyer up, ask him the answer to the question. What's he going to do? Charge you. I'm going to charge you too. $75 minimum for the phone call, $375 an hour. And by the way, $375 is cheap these days. However, you call, you identify yourself to my secretaries in my office. The way the letter tells you how to identify yourself, at that point you are not my client, you're my student. And I am more than happy to answer the question. There is no charge. How many of you like to be able to call, ask the questions, no charge? It's critical you have a sounding board to work off of. How many students do I already have in here? I know you call in all the time. Well, we don't have a voicemail system in our office, do you? Do we? Who answers the phone? I do sometimes. If all the secretaries are busy. We don't have a voicemail. I'm too cheap to have a voicemail system. Actually, we've had the same listed phone number for 30 years. But we're more than happy to help you. We actually have a number of lawyers in the office. If I'm not there, they'll make an appointment for me, or you can talk to one of the other lawyers. And we have a tax guy in the office. He's pretty good. He spent 7 years as a special auditor for the IRS. He taught all the auditors, and he did the big criminal cases. He's a CPA, and he's been with us 3 years now. He's really good. If you have a tax question, don't ask me. Ask Ben. But we ought to be able to save you a ton in taxes. Any rate, call. And by the way, those of you who are already students, if you're not getting the newsletter, go to the back and fill out the form for the written newsletter, okay, when we get through. That's the way I'm updating you now. But at any rate, call, ask the questions, no charge. By the way, when you use the accumulation preservation of wealth set, you're going to notice something. It's 381 pages, single-space type. These are not fill-in-the-blank forms. Other than the signature lines, no blanks. A fill-in-the-blank form is no good to you. The legal dooms, the guys on the internet, they're pitching to the lowest common denominator. You guys are not the lowest common denominator. I got news for you. These are unique forms. What you do is you use the form, you listen to the audio CDs, and you customize it to yourself. I mean, problem is you got to type them. It's going to cost you $2,000 to have your secretary retype them. Either that, or it's going to take you days worth of time and frustration to retype all of these. I'm willing to clear as many obstacles out of your way as I can. How many of you would like all the forms, everything we've talked about on a computer CD? I've prepared the CD for you. Put a lot on one of those babies these days, can't you? Let's say you're doing the living revocable trust. Put it in, bring it up on the screen. Now you're at the exact same place that I am with my secretaries, only we're going to charge a client thousands of dollars to do what I'm going to teach you how to do. So what you do is you listen to the audio CD, and I literally go through the trust for you, one paragraph at a time on the computer screen. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. See that language in Section 3? That's what the law requires. You leave that one alone. Section 4, I'll take Section 4 out if you don't like it. Or I've done hundreds of these. So on the audio CDs, I tell you these are the 4 or 5 ways that I often want to change, or my clients often want to change Section 4. Could you change Section 4 too then, yes or no? You understand what I'm doing? I'm making it as easy as I can for you. You won't get any easier than this. Let me review for you exactly what you've got here at the event. Oh, this is a letter that I received a while back from Yuma, Arizona. I commented a minute ago that you needed a sounding board. It says, Lee, your material. That's the accumulation, preservation, and wealth set. Your material has aided me innumerable times. You don't just use it once, you use it over and over. Your base information give me knowledge to influence transactions, stand tall with the legal profession on many occasions. When you know what the law is, you don't have to go in and cower down and say, well, yes, sir, Mr. Lawyer, I guess that's the way it's going to be. You walk in and say, no, sir, Mr. Lawyer, it's going to be this way, this way. Well, how many of you like to control your lawyer? That's what we're doing. My actions as a real estate broker and business consultant been lying. I don't care what you're doing. The law touches everything you do. You learn how to use the law, you make more money. Lee, without the information and material, it would have been impossible to accomplish what I've done. Without this basic structure, this foundation in place, it will be impossible for you to build a large financial fortune. You can't build a house from the roof down. What do you got to have first? Foundation. This is your legal structure, your foundation. So let me review for you exactly what we've got here at the event. Accumulation, preservation, and wealth set. All the forms, 14 hours of audio CDs, here at the event, $19.99. Now you can call Tom's office up any time later, no problem, $24.99. Benefit plan, retirement savings plan, here at the event, $6.99. You can call up Tom's office, like I say, anytime later, $9.99. The computer disc is only $200 here at the event. There's a catch, though. The computer disc only comes with the full accumulation and preservation of wealth set. I don't give it to you separately. It'd be like giving you a gun, not telling you what it is. You got to know how to use it, or it's no good to you. ID theft materials, $159. However, winning the identity theft war is a companion set to the accumulation, preservation of wealth set. So those two go together. This is your new identity. This is how to protect it. There's no charge on the letter. They'll let you call and talk to us and answer the questions. However, the letter's only available to those people who pick up the set. And I'm going to have you pick it up before we go to lunch. They'll give you time for lunch. Tom knows we're a little late here. We're okay. But it's only available. I want to spend a minute with you. I'm going to talk to you. I am going to take off. I need to get home. This is one of the 2 events that I'm doing for the rest of the year. So I'll be gone by the time you get back from lunch, okay? But I'm going to spend a minute with you, talk to you, and I can remember about half the faces with the names for up to a year. Bottom line is I want to know who my students are if you're going to call in. I want to know who my pests are. No. She's getting her work done. But at any rate, I mean, this is critical. In your financial careers, this is the most important investment that you're going to make. Roy Stein, one of my students, using the accumulation, preservation, and wealth set. This guy's an architect, builds a beautiful school. And then the school teachers in the school district started to have a war. And one day the school teachers, they decide, man, we're going to get even with superintendent, so they all call in sick. Superintendent says, what's the matter with you? They say, well, the air conditioning in the school is making us sick. EPA, health department, everybody goes in, nothing wrong with the air conditioning. Yet one night on the nightly news, they're interviewing the superintendent, and he says, man, there's got to be something wrong with the school. We're going to sue the architect. I got a call that night after the nightly news. Guess who's on the phone? The architect. No, it was a trick question, his wife. She only has 2 questions. Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to lose all my savings? It was neat. At that point, I said, no. You've called in. I've worked with you. I know. We've moved everything out and around behind this shield, protected it. They can't get to it. Go back to bed. Well, when these disasters, the death, the divorce, the taxes, the lawsuit, when you get sued, you don't sleep for 3 weeks. Either that or you say, don't worry about it, go back to bed. You can't be like Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis, one of my friends, he was in a horrible accident. He was burnt very badly. He lived for 2 days after he was burnt. Whole 2-day period. Army lawyers in his hospital room. We had to go in. We had to try to move everything out around behind the shield, protect it. We didn't make it, by the way. Family lost a lot of money. Oh, don't get me wrong. We saved a lot of money. But basically what's happened at that point is Dr. Davis has failed to fulfill the moral obligation he has to his family. Even more important than the money, though. Look at that scene. All these lawyers in the hospital room last 2 days. Who's supposed to be in the hospital room last 2 days? Not a bunch of lawyers. Altogether, too often, I will literally spend the last 20 minutes with a man or a lady who's dying, trying to get them to sign a piece of paper. Because a piece of paper is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to their family. Either that or with the family out in the hall in the hospital trying to get something put together. That's not the way it's supposed to be. When they walk in, stand alongside the x-ray table and say, oh, by the way, you've only got 2 to 3 weeks to live. You never ask this question. Could I spend a couple more weeks at the office? You do ask yourself certain questions. In fact, subconsciously, you ask yourselves these questions all the time. Ask yourself right now, do I have a will? Does it do what it's supposed to do for me? Do I have a living revocable trust? Going to avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes? Am I in a position today where I have the accumulation, preservation, wealth set? I know how to use these tools. I can give my family an extra 5, 10, 15 grand this year. No more work, no risk. Ask this. If I were in an accident today on the way home, my business were to have a problem, my tenant were to sue me, is my family going to lose a lot of what I've worked my whole life to give them? These are the questions you ask yourself. Ask yourself 2 more. Can I afford to wait any longer to do this work? Can my family afford to have me wait any longer? And the answer is no. I really do want to work with each one of you. I will help you any way I can. For the next 10 minutes back here, before you head to lunch, I'm going to make the Accumulation, Preservation, and Wealth Set, all forms, 14 hours of audio CDs, benefit plans, retirement savings plans, all forms, additional 5 hours of CDs, the computer disk, the ID theft. Oh, and I have forgotten. Tom asked me, I do a very exclusive boot camp where I bring 12 people in, 12 couples, and for 2 days we go through advanced asset protection, advanced taxes and stuff. He asked me if I would help you with the tuition on that. I have a $500 certificate for you. That is not listed up there because most folks don't get that. Tom has actually attended the boot camp, and so he can explain that to you later. But there's a $500 certificate up there that's not up there, okay? But you'll receive a $500 certificate towards the tuition there. There's no charge on the letter. However, the letter's only available to those who pick up the materials now. I mean, this is critical, guys. This is the most important investment that you're going to make in your financial careers. Roy Stein failed to fulfill the obligation he had to his family. Dr. Davis, it was too late. Do it now. Come to the back and I will help you here at the event. I'm going to give you a package price, everything, total, everything we've talked about, total package price $19.99. Come to the back. I will help you fill out the receipt, the form, because what you write down on the receipt makes a difference. We're going to make the $19.99 tax deductible. Above the line or below the line? Above the line. There you go. By the way, everything comes in a nice little beach bag here. I actually saw one on the beach the other day. If you make it, let me point out one more thing. If you make it tax deductible, you're a 30% tax bracket. That's about $700 that you'll write off. You'll get back. The IRS will help you with. If you use the certificate, $500, and you get the $700 off taxes, 5 and 7 is, what, 12? So you've got $799 actually out of pocket when you use the certificate and get the tax deduction.
John, I am so amazed every time I hear Lee present. His message is so succinct, and it's exactly what people need. It's to take care and protect themselves legally. I mean, we've used it in our own businesses, in our own personal life. And the cool thing is when we've had independent attorneys look at this, the documents are clean. They're exactly what people need. They're exactly what we wanted. We didn't have any red flags or missing data or anything. And you've got a special package today that you're going to offer people today.
Yes, so obviously you're watching a replay. This was Lee Phillips' presentation at the 2016 Wealth Summit here in Las Vegas. And Lee's not going to be at the Wealth Summit this year. And so what he has allowed us to do is to offer this package for $24.99, which is the regular price, but you also get the bonuses that he talked about.
Oh, that's good.
And so by the time you add in all the bonuses, it's like a 40% savings. So you
Wow.
save $1,697 on it. So you can just add it to your cart below for $2,499, and you'll get the accumulation and wealth preservation set along with the bonuses that Lee Phillips talked about here.
Can I say something more?
You certainly can.
You know, what I really like about what Lee's package is that, yeah, you buy it for yourself, you buy it for your business, but maybe you've got some siblings, or maybe you've got some children that need to set up these documents too.
Yes.
And for the same low cost, you get it all. You're not
Yes.
having to pay another set of attorney fees to get that.
Oh yes, and it's a no-brainer when you can, especially when you consider all the attorney fees that you would have to pay just to get one of these documents or two
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
You know, one for a trust or for an LLC, a business operating agreement. It's a no-brainer.
So I hope you take advantage of this offer that Lee is giving. It's an awesome opportunity for you to protect your assets from the legal world that we live in today.